What even is a second chance, honestly? Are they even real? Do they really exist? Life is like a tax audit. It friggin' sucks, and it's got one hell of a fetish for punishment. It can cut you down, burn you out, make you lose passion for the things you love, or at least the things that you thought you did. It's real bitter stuff, and it kind of makes you think, do I even deserve a second chance? Am I worth it? Can I make it work? Is it too late? Is a second chance truly in the cards for me?
Yeah, believe it or not, I'm talking about the silly little pixel art indie game starring the non-binary cat protagonist kid. Yeah, that one.
And that's what sucks about all of this, isn't it? The world here, it's clearly doomed. Any chance at a good ending has long been forgotten, and there doesn't seem to be any real chance at fixing that. At securing a future for its people, at getting Nico back home, at ever ending up happy. And boy, can I say I certainly know right how that feels, and in a lot of different ways. As far back as I can remember, I've always been fascinated just by how video games worked, what made the good ones good and the bad ones bad, how they were made, and I attribute that to a lot of the games I played in my early childhood, to Mario Advance, to Lego Batman, to the Sonic trilogy, to the Mario and Luigi RPGs, those kinds of things. And gosh, I always thought that'd be the coolest thing in the world, to try and make my own games, my own little worlds, you know?
But there was always this gripping fear, this insecurity that I could just never get rid of that came with that. I mean, I didn't know how to make any of this stuff. God's sakes, I was just a kid when I was a child, and it's like, nobody ever made a game by themselves or with a small team that left such a huge impact or anything, so it was like, what was the point? And that was a pretty consistent thought pattern I had for several years until I remembered, oh yeah, indie games exist.
Set the stage in your head. It's mid-2019, like 6+ years ago now, and I'm a 13-year-old who just played Deltarune, and I decide, hell yeah, man, I'm gonna try to make a game. Why can't I? What in the world's stopping me? After all, there have been so many games created by small groups of developers that lived up to such high heights and changed so many people, and I went far down the rabbit hole, so of course I'd later played Deltarune's Divorce Step prequel-in-law and Undertale, little-known game, you may have heard of it, maybe not, I don't know. Then Shovel Knight, just a brilliant throwback to classic platformers, and I can't forget Hollow Knight or Cuphead, two stylish and addictive 2D titles that I think speak for themselves. Or Omori, which I genuinely think might be the best storytelling experience in pretty much any game I have ever played. It's a game I have a really unhealthy relationship with, and it's one of the two great RPG Maker indie games about a deeply layered protagonist and their relationship with a special light bulb, and I think that is pretty cool. Or Celeste, which is probably my favorite game ever. I think I'm always going to give that regard to Super Paper Mario. I have to, just because that one has everything I want to see in a game. It shaped everything I want to see in a game, but if I was stranded on a desert island and I could only ever play one game again for the rest of my life, it'd honestly have to be Celeste. It's the one game I don't think I could ever get sick of playing over and over and over again, ever. And all of this, among so many other enriching experiences, I just completely fell head over heels for this whole sort of genre of game. But here's the thing, when you're breathing in all these high-level modern classics, and you're hoping, you're planning, you're trying your damnedest to make one of your own one day, that paralyzes you. Or at least it did me. There was this ever-present panic of not being good enough, of not being able to live up to this huge standard I set for myself, and I'll be honest, goddammit, it's only gotten worse over time. This is something I fight with tooth and nail to the death every single day of my life. But again, this was 2019, 2020, 2021, that time frame close to 5 years ago now, and what have I done with my time since then?
I've set goals for myself. I had originally wanted a game to release by 2023 at one point. It was a personal goal. It was personal. I wanted to make a game that would release on the consoles that primarily I grew up with, stuff like the Nintendo Switch and the PS4. Something that I could stick on my shelf with the rest of those consoles' legendary libraries, with the works that meant so much to me, that could hopefully mean something to somebody one day and say, this belongs here, this deserves it, I deserve it. It was personal, but that was realistically never gonna happen. I mean, I was smack dab in the middle of the worst mental crisis of my entire life at that point, so instead, I set a new goal. I wanted a game to release in the big year of 2025. I mean, even though we didn't really know it at the time, the Switch 2 was coming out that year. We all knew it, and to me, that marked a new generation, that signaled a new beginning. I saw so much potential for that, and outside of that, 2025 was shaping up to be kind of a shitty year given the state of things going on. Given the horrifically fascist state my country is in right now, the very place I predicted it crumbling into all those years ago. It feels silly to say out loud, but it felt like now was the most important time for me to play my part, to do what little I could to not comply, to do something important that some people could find solace in, that people would enjoy, to speak my piece, to make something, to do something important as my country becomes a scarier, darker place for people who don't look like me, for people who don't have the same privileges that I do, even for people like me that don't kiss the ring and feed into the bullshit ideologies and religions we're fed. But obviously, that fell through also, and for the same reasons I said earlier, I spent days, months, just trying to learn, to accomplish the most basic things, and thinking about it realistically, I had this idea of very noble intentions of doing something great people could care about, but like, how noble really were those intentions? How much did this really matter at the end of the day? Nothing would change, it wouldn't matter, nobody would care. And all of that held me down, and for obvious reasons, so just like before, I had failed.
I'm at the point now where I don't want to make something just for the sake of making something anymore. I have an actual story to tell. I have a world to build, a style of gameplay I want to implement. But I mean, at this point, we're looking at, I don't know, maybe 2028, 2029, 2027 if I'm like really, really lucky. And God, outside of this, outside of my unhinged, obsessive dedication to this project, I'm nothing. I have nothing. This is all I have, all I do outside of my stinking dead-end retail job that's ruining my life even more. And I can never clear this project, this duty from my mind. It's all I live for, and it's hard sometimes, man.
Honestly, when you're working at something, the same thing, trying to make the same thing work for so long, it does get hopeless after a while. After all, how could it not? You've barely made any progress, you're stuck, you've wasted all this time, and all for what? You started an LLC with no actual products to sell, and you're wasting tons of money on it each and every month, which is a universal human experience everyone can relate to. And yet still, at the end of all of that, you still have nothing to show for it. And it gets to the point where you start to wonder, what is the point? Do second chances even exist? And do I deserve one? A third chance? Something more? You begin to think, I've used up every chance I've gotten, and I've made nothing with it. So what even is the point anymore? And that's what I love so much about OneShot's meta-narrative, because it asks what is real, and it asks what does matter, and I find all of that to be truly captivating.
It raises a lot of questions about reality, about life, about free will, and if it even exists to begin with. This is a really deeply beautiful and compelling meta-narrative, and it showcases all the things that make gaming gaming, the things that make gaming special. It's a story that can only be told in this specific artistic medium, and I sincerely find a ton of value in that. But that's where the differences in the Solstice path start to come into play. Everything that takes place within OneShot is fixed in advance by the world machine. It's all set in stone, except slowly but surely, things that aren't supposed to happen start happening. Like, Nico meets up with the author's 3 children, which was never something the world machine planned, anticipated. The friends you and Nico made throughout your quest begin making their own choices to help you endure this unplanned path. And this confuses, this terrifies the world machine, which just further thrusts this world into devastation and chaos. And this is all tied together by the very concept of taming. It's something that's brought up a lot in your first playthrough, but it's never really explored, much less explained. That is until you dig deeper into the Solstice route. You learn that taming is essentially the process of giving humanity and nature to synthetic life. If a person spends time with a robot and treats it as if it is a person, then that robot becomes tamed. They become their own person. Yeah, so this requires a lot of suspension of disbelief because, like, the game really devotes itself to having the strict meta-narrative, yet we know that these lines of code that are presented as characters, even Nico themselves, aren't real, they're not people, but I think that adds even more to the underlying story of this game.
See, I've noticed that a lot of people seem to think that the point of OneShot is that machines are people, that robots are people. All you gotta do is just treat them with humanity. It's like, no, it's never been the point. In reality, that doesn't make any sense at all. No, the point isn't that these robots are people. The point isn't that these machines are people. The point is that these people are people. That even if they're just mere simulations being copied by the world machines, their humanity still shines through at the end of the day, and that is what matters here.
Nico ultimately realizes that the people of this world are real. Their stories and their decisions do matter, and succeeds in doing what the entirety of this game was really leading to. It's not about restoring the sun, it's not about bringing Nico home, it's not about a choice, it's not about making your one and only shot count. It's about taming the world machine, about convincing it that we don't just have one shot, that second chances, as unlikely as they may seem, as out of reach as they may always appear to be, are indeed possible to attain, that new beginnings can happen if you pursue them, if you make them happen against all odds, that a second chance truly is a worthwhile possibility for Nico, for the people of this world, for the world machine itself, and in a meta way, for OneShot as a whole, and for us, for the player, because that's what we're doing by playing this game, by becoming attached to it, by committing our time and committing our souls to this world. We are taming the world machine. We are giving it the humanity it needed to operate from the beginning, the humanity it needed to be a full world, unplagued by these coding errors that caused it to deteriorate into the mere scraps it became in the first place, and it works. In the end, the world machine provides us with a satisfying ending wherein both the world is restored and Nico gets to go home, where the author's goal of preserving this world truly played out, even if it was in a different way than he originally intended. This world will live on, in our memory, as said by the world machine itself. To Nico, this world will live on as a dream, like thousands of other dreams, and to us, as a story, like thousands of other stories. I don't know, man, that's just the layered storytelling I love to see in gaming, and in all fiction generally. Like, within the kayfabe of this world, so to speak, it's really up to you to decide your own interpretation. Is there in any way actually a realness to this world and to these people? Now that we're done with this game, will these characters within its own fictional little world continue to live on now that we, that Nico, that the world machine have served our purposes? You can make good arguments for both sides, for yes and for no, but to me, the answer obviously is yes, they will, because that's the whole point of the game, because that's what everything sets up throughout all of OneShot, that this world and its people deserve a second chance at survival, at life, just like we do. And oh my god, like I said, this whole thing works so much because of the connection you build with Nico. When Nico's happy, you're happy. When Nico's scared, you're scared. And when Nico's demoralized, you feel demoralized. And when your journey ends the second time, the real time that is, and it's time for the both of you to go your own separate ways for good, it genuinely feels like the bittersweet ending of a real, actual friendship, which is mind-bustingly crazy considering it's a character who looks like this of all things. And all in all, the level of immersion this all works together to form is crazy, and maybe it's because they talk directly to us, but I've rarely ever seen a main protagonist in a game feel anywhere near as real or tangible as Nico does. And I can't overstate that as much as I may try. Yeah, I really like OneShot. It's a great game. Masterpiece. 7 out of 8 nuggets.
You and I have had our disagreements before, but trust me on this one. OneShot's great and you should play it. It's only like $10 and it's worth every single goddamn penny of that $10. And while you're at it, you should keep your eyes open for updates on Night Margin's next game, Margin of the Strange, which looks super cool. It's like the two great indie RPG maker games about a deeply layered protagonist and their relationship with a special light bulb had a kid somehow. Oh, and also Skyless Blind, which is being made by Margin of the Strange's pixel environmental artist Near. You won't regret it unless you're a dumb, stupid weirdo who hates good art and prefers those terrible, soulless AI-generated cartoon movies or something, which in that case you suck and I hate you and your parents probably regret ever committing the unforgivable crime of birthing you into our sad little world in the first place. And on that note, Night Margin also got to make some music for the recent Off remaster with some annoying dog guy, which is really neat. That was a game that played a big part in inspiring OneShot, so to see things go full circle that way is really inspiring. No joke, the creators of OneShot and Undertale teaming up to make something is like, it's just crazy to me. It's like, oh my god, what if my parents fucked?
In the meantime, yeah, life sucks a lot. Yeah, well, I often find myself consumed by my own lame problems for obvious me being me reasons. I know you've got your own struggles, and it's important to remember that it's inevitable. You're gonna fuck things up magnificently like the stupid, pathetic loser you are, and sometimes you're gonna need a second, third, fourth, 12th chance to get something right, and it's perfectly okay to take your time and take those chances. OneShot, in every conceivable way, both in its content and its real-life story, is tangible proof of that.
OneShot's a game that means a lot, that represents a lot to me. Like, sure, it's no George Foreman's KO boxing, but not every game can be. That's a hell of a lot to ask. But its focus on puzzle and exploration instead of forcing in some generic battle mode speaks to so much genuinity at its core. I don't know. I just love everything about OneShot. It's my kind of game. It's my bread and butter, which kind of sucks because I can't eat gluten, but that's not the point. Games like this are kind of what kickstarted my whole descent into madness. My journey into making my own game, which might not suck total aardvark balls, who knows, so I feel like I'd owe games like this a hell of a lot. Seeing OneShot make it to the place it's at right now is just really inspiring to me, and it reminds me, maybe if I keep working, maybe if I do everything I can, that maybe I too can have a second chance. Nah, it's not in the cards for me.